National Assembly and our Senate, starting from the President and the former Prime Minister all the way to the villages. What is it about Parliament that has not endeared itself to the people as far as the powers given to Parliament by the new Constitution and the powers given by the people to Parliament?
Thank you, Session Chair. First, allow me to thank the President for the proclamation. Your Excellency, you will be surprised when you are watching the ceremony for promulgation. I'm sure you did not see the Committee of Experts anywhere. We were 9 of us, 3 international experts, 6 local experts. Our chair has since passed on, the Honorable Nzamba Kitonga AC, and I'm praying that he might be recognized posthumously. But as soon as we released the final text of the Constitution to the government printer, nobody remembered us. We didn't even have a seat. So it is today that now I have a seat. So I thank you 15 years later. Njokindungu will tell you, Professor Sempebwa brought his wife all the way from Uganda and could not sit. Secondly, fortunately for us, both yourself and the Prime Minister were in Parliament, and you are there much longer than me. So if there are things to be known, I'm sure you know them. But more fortunately, I'm here with my Speaker, Session Chair. I hold no leadership position in Parliament. So if anybody is to be crucified, please look for the Honorable Wetangula. Me, I'll give my perspective. I will give my perspective from having participated in the Committee of Experts to my experience now in 8 years. First, I am the first to concede, and I've said this and I've conceded it in public, that I don't think we are doing well in Parliament, especially the 13th Parliament. I am not here to apologize. But just like all other branches, there are successes, but there's work to be done. At least in our favor, 15 years down the line, we still have a bicameral Parliament. 15 years down the line, we've held elections regularly. We are still able to vet. We are even able to impeach, as we recently did. So at least it is there. But there are 2 problems that I see. One is historical and one is institutional. The historical one, Chair, you will remember, is the problem between the National Assembly and the Senate. In the Committee of Experts, we had designated the Senate as the upper house. You who were in Parliament then decided that we did not need a Senate and removed it. When it came to us, given the historical experience that we had in this country, we decided we needed a Senate at least to protect devolution. So unfortunately, all the powers we had given to the Senate were removed, and we left the Senate with a threadbare role of protecting devolution and taking care of the interest of the devolved units. Very little. And ultimately, therefore, with the subsequent interpretation by the Supreme Court and all, there remains sibling rivalry between the Senate and the National Assembly, and sometimes it becomes a problem for Parliament as Parliament. That is historical. The institutional one is one of our creation, and it was created before I joined Parliament. We changed, the Committee of Experts had proposed a parliamentary system. Members of Parliament, in their wisdom in Naivasha, changed it to a presidential system. And so we had to make things to adopt to that presidential system. Whatever we made to adopt to the presidential system does not seem to have been reflected in the structure of politics. So that what we have now is you have members of Parliament from the party that is in the executive, and because they are the majority in Parliament, they call themselves government. You have members of Parliament from the minority who call themselves opposition. Members of Parliament are yet to learn that there is no government or opposition inside of Parliament. There is only the majority and the minority, and collectively we are supposed to oversight the executive. That we have not learned, and it's something we struggle with, and that's part of the problem. I think moving forward, there are things to be done. One, if Parliament must seriously work on the trust deficit that we currently have. But secondly, and Njoki talked about judicial overreach, we had a colloquium with the judiciary recently, and I made the proposition that while the judiciary is free to handle parliament in any way, especially when it's doing a quasi-judicial duty, please let parliament handle legislation, because there are inbuilt mechanisms. You can find us wrong later. But lastly, from the executive perspective, it must also reduce its chokehold on parliament. Kidogo too, then we'll be able to move forward. Thank you very much.
But may I remind the senior counsel that power is never given. The Constitution has clothed Parliament with the powers to oversight the executive. It's just that Parliament has decided to go to sleep. So probably is to ask Parliament to wake up and don't give the President everything he asks for. So let me ask Professor, who represents the President's office. The executive is the largest organ of government. The executive is the implementer and usually is the culprit when it comes to rights. What is it about our Katiba that has limited the powers of our executive to make sure that the executive is accountable to the people?
Thank you very much, Abdul Kadir. I just want to say, first of all, you'll sympathize with me because you have asked me to answer a question and to speak about the executive in the presence of my boss.
I have told you in the military, when you want to speak freely, you ask your commander to speak freely. So we'll ask the President to give you permission to speak freely.
Luckily, the 2010 Constitution protects me from any adverse conduct from anyone in the Republic. I just want to say that of the three arms of government, the one that has the awesome responsibility for the security, the protection, and the prosperity of the Republic of Kenya is the executive. This is a job like no other. Now, in constitutional theory, as you know, and political practice, the three arms of government are supposed to be co-equal. But I think it is common knowledge to philosophers and scholars that the executive is the first among equals. And you recall, of course, that democracy itself as a phenomenon for the governance of society is a very difficult practice to execute. It was none other than Winston Churchill, who opined that democracy is the worst form of government except for all the others. Meaning that of all the systems of government, democracy is not perfect, but it is better than all the others. But Churchill also says something else. He said that the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter. What I'm trying to say is that the performance of democracy is very difficult. If something goes wrong in the country, citizens will not blame the legislature. They will not blame the judiciary. They will look for the president. The president and the executive have a thankless job. If there's a terror attack, he is blamed. If there's a flood, he is blamed. So I just want to say that